So back in 2021, late 2021, around the time when I was 12, around 12 or 13, I was born in 2008. So if that's any any metric to go by, but so around that time when I was like 10 or 12, not 10 or 12, 12 or 13, I got braces. So my teeth are really, well, not really nice, but like I've got a retainer in, and all that. But I had braces, and what happened was when I got those braces, my mind shifted, and I kind of, like for the first time in a while, I saw a little bit of hope for the future. It was that little thing little, right? It's kind of a life-changing thing, getting braces. It kind of just like, it made me feel so great about the future that I started working on it. I started working out, and I wasn't consistent. I kind of fell off a few times. But it was because I started that. It kind of started this like chain reaction of events that kind of led me up to where I want to be and to where I am today, which I think is far better than if I had never done it in the first place. I'm skinnier than I would have been. I've done a lot more than I probably would have been or would have done, and I met a lot of good people that I probably wouldn't have met if I hadn't started this whole journey. And working out is really what started it. So it really started it for me, and I think that started it for most people. So I'm kind of trying to talk about the compound effect, where it's like everything you do, especially when you're young, especially when you're like, if you're 13 or if you're 16 or if you're 20, even if you're like 40, everything you do has an effect, and that effect compounds over time. The result of your effort compounds over time, and it's probably something I should be heeding. If you pay any attention, I've kind of slacked a little bit on making these videos. I wasn't even going to make one today, but I kind of need to, because it's been like 3 days. But it's like your effort compounds over time. This one video, like it might have saved me from a whole streak of not uploading. Like it doesn't matter what the effect is immediately, like your muscle or how many pages you can write or read or do whatever. It's about how much it affects your future. Because one workout, it might not seem that much, but one workout gets you into doing a second, and then a third, and then a fourth, and then thousands, and I think that's what gets, that might be what gets people so hung up about starting, is like, oh, well, that's not going to change anything. But it's that compound effect where it's like, oh yeah, 3 minutes of meditating won't do anything. But if that 3 minutes gets you to 5 eventually, then it's doing something. If that 5 gets you into 10, it's doing something. It's that effect where it's like everything you do has an effect, has a compound effect, where it just adds and adds and adds and builds and builds and builds. And it's the same with bad habits. It's the same with the bad stuff. Like, if you're fapping, or if you're drinking, or if you're partying, being around the wrong crowd, whatever, that compounds. Like, people don't think that, but if you're doing those things when you're young, if you're doing those things when you're 15, 16, up to 18, 20, however old you think you are, it compounds. It ruins you eventually. Where it's like, you might not think it's that big of a deal, but you form habits most easily when you're around this age. And that's why I think so many people get stuck in what they're doing at this age for the rest of their lives, because you just form like a regular, like a normal. And if your normal is being a degenerate and doing those bad habits, then your normal is going to be being a degenerate and being not a bad person, obviously, but like having those bad habits. And it's just the compound effect. and a lot of people have talked about it, but it's, and I could probably do better to do some more research on it before I start talking about it. But essentially, compound effect in simple words, in easy words, is what you do today has a massive, massive effect on a year from now. You know, like what you're doing today, whether you think so or not, it, over the course of so long, it becomes something much bigger than you ever thought, because it's exponential growth. And it's the most magical thing you could possibly harness. Because as soon as you realize that, as soon as you're like, oh, well, everything I do today, good or bad, is pretty much going to be my future self. That's pretty much what I'm going to be like in a year time. You've almost, like, it almost changes your mind to be like, oh, well, if I don't want to be like that, then I'm not going to do that, you know? Because you are ostensibly your actions. You are sort of what you do and what you think. And even if you don't think so, even if you don't think that you are, and who you are, even if you don't think that you are what you do and what you think, you are. Because eventually that becomes your habits, and your habits become your self-view, and your self-view becomes you. And I'll probably do a video someday about self-view and like psycho-cybernetics and all that when I read the book fully. But what was I gonna say? It's just such a magical thing, because it almost makes like the bad habits absolutely disgusting. It's like, do you want to be the guy in a year that gets no sleep? Like, no, so get the sleep tonight. You know? And, or do you want to be the alcoholic in 10 years? No, then why would you drink today? You know, do you want to be peaceful in 10 years? Yeah, then meditate today. You know, it's that kind of stuff where it's like the super simple stuff, and it's just like not that difficult. You know, it's not that difficult to picture that way, and it's especially not that difficult to do it today. And it's like, which is going to be more difficult, breaking or not starting a bad habit now, like drinking or smoking or whatever, or being like, oh yeah, I'll do it now, but then I'll quit it later. It's going to be so much harder to quit it down the line than it is to just not do it today. And it's, which one's going to be easier? Like, which one's going to be harder? Like, doing the good habit today, or doing it 10 years from now when you haven't done it for so long, you know, or which one's, like, it's going to be so much harder to quit once you've already done it. Like, think about it. Once you're in that like good habit or bad habit area, in 10 years time, in 5 years, in 1 year, wherever, it's going to be so much harder to quit either of those things. And you're going to find it such a nightmare to do either, because that's ostensibly, who you are. And if you turn your back on your identity in that way, you're going to have such a hard time fighting against your identity. It's going to kill you. It's going to eat you up. So it's best just not to make it part of your identity, or to make it part of your identity, depending on if it's bad or good. And obviously it's up to you. But in my life, in my journey so far, the one thing that actually has compounded and has made its way into my life is weightlifting. Really lifting and becoming stronger and becoming more fit, and exercise. Like, that's the one thing that has actually worked itself completely into my identity. Like, that's who I am now. And it makes it so much harder to quit. It makes it so much harder to be like instead of like being, oh yeah, like I worked out a few weeks ago, I say, I've gone 3 weeks without working out. Like, that's the language you use almost, where it's like, it's not about necessarily doing the habits. It's about building up that personality. It's about building up that self-image of yourself, where you are that person who does those habits. And it's about building up like that kind of view where you're like, I've done these habits for so long, and I started them when I was so young or whatever, that's just who I am, good or bad. And that's what the compound effect really is. It compounds into your personality, compounds into who you are. And it's such an incredibly important thing to come to terms with, where it's like, do I want to become that person? Like, or it's like, you look at people who do those things, and you're like, do I want to become more like those people, or would I prefer not to? You know, and it's such a sobering reality when you realize that a lot of the bad things you want to do, they have so many people attached to them that you would never want to be like, you know? And that's just how it is. So, compound effect is super important. It kind of builds into who you are, and your self-image is super important. I'm probably going to talk about that later. I wanted to keep this video short because I just wanted to get it done, so that I could get some discipline in, and I'm going to make it the best I can, but this isn't obviously the highest quality video I'll ever make, and not that I'm content with that, but as long as I'm getting something out, I think I'm happy with it. I want to get at least, so let's say it would be like Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I want to get at least 4 videos out a week, 3 or 4 videos out a week if I can. That's like the ideal where I'm at. Depends on how good I am about getting that stuff done. But I don't want to stress any of that kind of stuff. I just want to get this out so that I don't quit, you know. So better stuff to come in the future. Remember, wanting to be better is the most important first step. See ya.